There he is.
Good
morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so I would like to, as we do not currently have a chair, I would like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. And the first thing that we are going to move into here is the election of the chair. Are there any motions for nominating a chair?
Yeah, I'll nominate Susan Hill Smith.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a nomination and a second. All in favor?
Well, maybe discussion?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Or other nominations.
Or other nominations?
Well, I'm happy to do it. I don't know if there maybe is other interest from anyone else on the committee to anyone? All righty.
It doesn't matter, Susan. I mean, I can.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever. I think you'll do a fine job.
I think you'd be fine.
Okay. All right, I'll do it. Thank you for your confidence in me.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that was a unanimous decision. And so I will go ahead and turn it over to Chair Hill-Smith.
Thank you. So we'll acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. And our next item would then be approval of the previous meeting's minutes.
You're gonna elect your vice chair.
Vice chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. And any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Ryan Buchanan. Why he was taking a drink.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any no nays? Okay. Moving on to approval of previous meetings minutes from November 2nd. Do I hear a motion?
Motion
guys-
to approve. Yep. Motion to approve November 2nd.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. I do believe we have a citizen's comment.
Yep.
Is that something that we need to read, Ron, or?
I think we probably should. Nicole, would you do the honors?
Absolutely. This is from Rebecca Raceman of Mount Pleasant. Keep beaches open to everyone. Our tax dollars go to that. Also ban short-term rentals. Tourists show no respect. Also get rid of gated community at Wild Dunes. Everyone should have access. No private residence. All should have access to everything. Parking should be free. Beaches are for everyone. No private properties. Everyone has access. Beaches are for everything. And that is your only public comment.
All right. Thank you. And I'll remind that people also have the opportunity to sign up in advance to address the committee on Zoom, but have to do so, I believe it's by at least the day before our meetings. And let's move on then to item 5, departmental report with our Director Page.
You should all have a copy in front of you, but I'll highlight some things. Particularly, we do have a new member on board. Welcome, Councilman Pounds. Glad to have you on the rec committee. We have quite a few programs going on. As you know, our classes are limited due to the COVID and trying to comply with the guidelines that we have. So keep that in mind as we go through the report. We do have gymnastics for children. We have 7 students in that class. We have a chair fitness for our seniors. Our seniors were eager to get back into the rec center and do some fitness. So we have that class. It is in the gymnasium. That way we can social distance and have the proper number of people in the class that are required. Our dog obedience classes will start again tonight. We have lots of fitness classes. That's one thing that is really strong and in this department in Isle of Palms. We have a suspension training class that we're still doing in the picnic shelter. We have had a couple of days we brought it into the gym, but we have some folks that are trying to social distance and make sure that they can exercise in a safe environment. So they typically choose to do it at the picnic shelter. So we do have 8 participants in that class, and I think we can have a max of 9. Our core strength class, we have 8 participants, but we also have a Zoom link to that. So folks can call and sign up ahead of time, and we'll hook them up to the Zoom link for that class. We have a bar fitness class, which we have 4 that are attending in person, but they're also signing up for the Zoom with that class as well. Cardio and strength is on Mondays. Reservations are required because once again, we're limited to how many people we can have in that class. Full body sculpt, we have 5 in that class. Gather Knit is a free program that we have for our particularly senior ladies. They haven't come back since the COVID scare, but we're ready for them whenever they decide to come back. And what they do is sit around and knit and talk, and they help each other out on patterns and stitches, etc. Our gymnastics.
Quick question on that. I mean, was it possible to maybe encourage them to do that by Zoom to have?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe they'd be open to it if they're reluctant because of COVID. Maybe having that option might be a better alternative for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll look at that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many of these folks Zoom, but we'll certainly address that. It's good, good suggestion. Thank you for that. We do continue with our gymnastics classes for our children. Our IOP Kids is a program we have Monday through Friday from 9 to noon. Line dancing, it's very popular now. So we started a beginner class. So now we have a beginner and intermediate class. Over 50 fitness, we have 8 in that class. Our Saturday yoga program is going well. We have 5 that are actually doing it in person, but there's also a Zoom link for that. Taekwondo, they were doing classes outside. They're very COVID conscious, but they're going to resume classes this coming Wednesday. Tai Chi, we have 4 in that class. Our youth tennis is full, stays full, very popular class. We do have a tennis lessons for adults that are on Tuesdays. Our wood carvers is a group of guys that come in and carve wood. There's no fee for this. There's no instruction. It's just a program we offer them at no charge. We have some classes that are returning from 2020 that kind of dropped off after the COVID. It would be our Little Lotus Yoga, which is yoga classes for children. We're going to start that back tomorrow. Our pickleball lessons, we're going to bring that back. And also our Fit Body in 50. That's 50 minutes. We'll get you a fit body. That will start back on Wednesday of this week. And then we have 2 new classes that didn't make the report. We're have some instructors that decide they want to teach something. So we're bringing things in as they will. We have updated them in the activity guide that's on the website. So this stuff is updated on the website. But we have an over 50 yoga class that we're going to have on Monday and Wednesdays at 12:30. And then over 50s Pilates on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our seniors are itching to do something. So we're trying to accommodate them and make life easier for them, I guess you might say. Some of our special events, as you know, our Teenagers, which is our senior group, they meet the first Wednesday of every month, have been going. The numbers are smaller than last year, but they're gradually coming back. But our next one will be this coming Wednesday. We did have a holiday work craft for our young people. Our Holiday Street Festival was canceled, but we came up with Santa Lane. We know that over 200 cars went through that. I was pleased with its outcome. We had the Grinch, we had some elves, we had a scary snowman, but I thought it went very well and very, very much received by the community. Our cookie workshop, we divided it into 2 days so we could properly social distance the children. It went very well. Most of the children left here on a pretty good sugar high. A doggy day at the rec, obviously it's next month and it won't be what we typically have. but we're going to make sure that we have the vaccinations available for our island residents, as well as an opportunity to get the city dog tags licenses. So we're working on that. Dr. Jose is not going to be here. We're working with Sandy Cove. I think they're going to be providing the vaccinations this year. I haven't confirmed that with them, but I have been talking with them, and so we hope that happens. So it'll be, we still will have the photo booth for the owners and dog. I think that's something we need to do. So we'll put this in the gym, most of it in the gym. We'll have a couple of rescues. If it's nice, we'll probably have the rescues outside. But we'll take a lot of time to set up the gym so that we have directions and we can keep people social distance and do our best to prevent the spread of COVID. Our Front Beach Fest, obviously in March, we will not have that. I just don't see that happening. So we're going to work on having a movie in the municipal parking lot. So we hope to pull that off in March. We'll be working on that this week.
I think that you know, I think when we first were hearing about the vaccinations, everybody was hoping that we would get back to normal, or thinking we would get back to normal very quickly. But as we're hearing more news reports, it's going to be more of a prolonged experience with the vaccinations before we get back to normal. So
I agree. And, you know, it takes a while to put these events together. So at some point you have to say, we can't do it because we can't possibly get everything together and make it happen. But I think we can pull a movie off. We've been in contact with some folks. So I think we're going to try to do that in March. Our city administrator, I thought it would be fun if we posted 3 movies and let people vote on the one they would rather have. So we in fact might do that just to get some involvement in the community.
good idea.
We might get some ideas we don't want to, but but we'll address those.
Norma Jean, I think that's a given, don't you think?
Absolutely, of course. The day and age of social media, yes, I do. Easter, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I haven't had an epiphany. Nothing has come to me in the middle of the night. We will do something. I just don't know what it's going to be at this point. So I'll keep you updated on that event. My brain's been working overtime this year. We're going to have the yard sale. It'll probably be a reduced number of people. I think we can pull that off. So we've scheduled that for Saturday, August the 17th. I mean, April, sorry, geez, April 17th. And then you can see some of the other duties. Our community specialist, which is the front desk position, has been involved in a little bit of everything because of COVID. We always pitch in, we're always a team, but it has been a little bit different this year with all the restrictions. Our parks and facilities is the individual that keeps the building clean, keeps it disinfectant, and of course his schedule and has changed how we clean our rooms, the time between rooms they have to rest before we let another class in, that we disinfect. It has to be at least 10 minutes before anybody can go in the room. So it's been quite a chore, but Josh has stepped up to the plate and done a really good job on that. And quite a bit of interior maintenance. And of course, the parks and grounds is always a big job, but I think we're catching up and outside is looking good. So if you have any questions, I did go a little bit in more detail because Councilman Pounds is new. But if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
New and slow, Norma Jean, you didn't have that.
I didn't say slow.
Yeah.
I did not say that.
Thank you.
Any questions from other members of the committee? Okay. I actually have a couple points I wanted to ask about.
Okay.
Well, first I wanted to just compliment you all for the pivoting that you've done on several counts, including I'm really impressed with the number of people who went through Candy Cane Lane, and that was a quick pivot. But to have 200 cars go through, I think is a really great involvement. And so appreciate that. And also the, I think logic with the doggy day, you know, doing something at least to keep some of that momentum going is great. I do have a question because I had concerns brought to me by a resident who was concerned about the cookie workshop and seeing pictures and thinking that maybe that shouldn't have been held. You have mentioned already that you spread it out over 2 days to help with social distancing. I did notice when I looked at the pictures, some family groups that were together, that were obviously going to be together anyways. Do you want to speak a little bit more to some of the things that you did to make that a safe event?
Sure. Actually, we assigned the tables. Just as you said, we assigned the tables by family unit. And you know, a lot of the families ride to school together and they're together. So we did put some of the two families together because we know that they are together. But every table was distanced in the room. Staff and adults were required to wear masks. Children can eat cookies and sugar with masks on. But it was more social distance than it looked. You're right. Pictures sometimes don't really tell the tale.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure that that was addressed.
Absolutely.
And then too, well, just generally, whatever I think we can offer outside in a reasonable way is great. Because that's, I think the consensus is that is much safer. And so the creative thinking around that, I think is good. What's not on here, which I have some questions about, is basketball. Because, well, not just because I'm obviously tapped into what's going on now at a high school level. And Charleston County School District did postpone games for this first week back at school, and practices limited to varsity sports at the high school level. So what are we going, I know Mount Pleasant Recreation Department is having games because my husband will be reffing many of them. But
I am sorry. I just realized when you asked me that, for some reason, the athletic sheet didn't get in here, and I apologize for that. Last month, I did include in the recreation report the guidelines that we're following for the basketball. And it's very strict. We only allow 2 teams in the building at a time to practice. And their temperatures are taken before they ever enter the room. We record those temperatures. And those they practice with the balls. Those balls are then removed, disinfect. The next 2 teams come in and they get different balls. For games start this week, and there's a specific set of rules. And once again, I apologize. I'll get those to you. But we're only allowing 2 people per child. The bleachers will be aligned so that people will social distance when they sit on the bleachers. They have to wear masks. The children or the youth participating have to wear masks when they are not on the floor. When they're on the bench, they have to wear masks, but when they play, they don't have to wear masks. The coaches, the referees, and city personnel will all be wearing masks. Everyone, parents included, will have their temperatures taken before they ever enter the facility. After one game is over, everybody will exit through the side gym door. We installed some more lights on the corner there, so it's easy to see. It was a little bit dark there.
Okay.
The building will rest for a few minutes before we let the next team come in. Balls will be changed between every game. So we're doing everything we can. I agree with you. With the numbers going up, I'm a little bit nervous, but we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we don't spread it here at the rec center. And I feel comfortable with what we're doing. And obviously, if something goes wrong, we'll address it right away.
Okay. And that sounds good. I'm glad that you're doing all of that. I want you to know that if you feel like you need to rein things in more because of any kind of developments with exposure, that I'm confident in your decision making on that. I don't know if the other members of the committee want to chime in.
No, I've been very comfortable with where we've been, Susan and Norma Jean and staff. Y'all have done a great job. I think it's unprecedented stuff, and it's just hard to know what the right thing to do is, unfortunately. But.
Councilmember Buchanan? Do you have
No, I have nothing to add. I've talked to Norma Jean about how her and her staff have, what, like you said, pivoted and done a great job at that. And that's all. I mean, it's not only with the recreation department, but all departments throughout the city have been doing the same thing and managing to make do with what with the hand we've been dealt.
You're right. Right. Okay. My only other thought was, and then this came up briefly last year, I think. We talked about the potential of doing some a boating education course, which I think the rec has had in the past. And I know that there's probably a real uptick in activity with boating during this COVID period. That's something, I think that will continue through the rest of this year. That it would be good for the rec department to maybe look into that possibility, even if it's a Zoom course or promoting whatever DNR already offers to just encourage that. I think would be good.
We reached out to them. I'll just have to check on the status of that. I know we reached out to some other agencies about doing some classes, and they were not doing classes at this time. But I can't remember this one. We did reach out. I'll get with Carrie. I know she has that information. We'll see where we are with that.
And I'm not sure. I think those are classroom classes. They're not.
They are.
They're not out. Out at the marina or anything like that. So right. It seems like that's something that could be done by Zoom without too much trouble. But it would be good.
Yeah, we've had boating and hunting here before, so this wouldn't be new to us.
Okay, great.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, and nothing else. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is old business. Item A, discussion of outlook for classes and activities in the spring. I think we kind of covered that though.
I think I covered that in the report.
And then discussion of surfing instruction. Ron, we had talked at our council meeting about looking at adding in some requirements for as we're allowing surfing instruction to happen within our guidelines that were passed on initial reading. We talked about the possibility of adding in some requirements in terms of safety instruction,
correct. Yeah. So we're sort of at a place now where this has been added to the agenda mostly as an update for people who are new to the committee to kind of keep them up to speed on why we ended up with this option as something that was presented. Mainly, we had a couple of RFPs. None of them were terribly successful. We explored the idea of bringing it in-house, thought maybe the liability there was a bit much. And so the current path that has passed first reading would basically just allow anyone who can get a business license to run a surfing instruction business during a certain period, following specific guidelines as far as like where and how and that kind of thing. And it would heavily restrict advertising, like no advertising on the beach, and you couldn't solicit out there. You'd have to have an office someplace else, or a website or something where you would recruit students. And then it would also have some timing restrictions in there as well, to make sure that we're not essentially having somebody camping out on the beach for 8 hours a day or something, doing a lesson that lasts the whole day. On the side of requiring any kind of certification or something like that, we get into a weird position with that, where the city would have to know what to look for to certify people, and B, kind of be on the hook for a lot of liability there, saying we have authorized this person to instruct surfing and we've certified that they are CPR or whatever, and if they're not, then that ends up coming back on us. And the thought with this particular process of just allowing anybody with a business license to do it would be that it's up to the person who's obtaining the service to really research and be sure that they feel comfortable learning surfing from this person, or having their kids learn surfing from whoever they're contracting with. If they don't, obviously the free market has a solution for that.
Okay. Is there a way we could at least encourage a level of certification and point as we're working with the surfing instructors and sharing information with them about this possibility, could we also encourage them to do at least a basic level of American Red Cross, or Norma Jean, you might have a suggestion of what would be appropriate.
I think Ron kind of touched on it. If we add safety requirements, then it's going to increase the liability of the city. It's just like any other business. We're trying to treat this as a business, and they secure a business license, and it would be like anyone else getting a business license. We can't really get into the meat of how they run their business or what their qualifications are to lay tile or to build a house. That's up to them to secure that training and those certifications. So I think the more restrictions we put on this, the more liable we are, and then the more we're going to have to go out and police and get into their operations to see that they have actually obtained this. It's I think the people that are going to get this are people that are good at it, and they know what they're doing, because no one, I don't think, in the right mind would want to teach surfing if they didn't have the proper qualifications and didn't know what they were doing. I just can't imagine. And of course, parents and folk, we have to take responsibility for our decisions too. If I don't like a certain person, if I'm not sure they're qualified, I'm not going to hire this guy to put a roof on my house. So if I don't think this guy's qualified, I'm not going to put my child in his surfing license too. So I think sometimes we've got to put the responsibility back on the individual to do their own research and see that that's the individual they want to work with.
And those are all great points. I guess my question is, can we encourage without requiring? Is that in the same category? Does that put us in the same category of liability if we're not making it an official requirement that we have to police?
I think it's encouraging is probably a moot point. I think these guys are probably very safety. They've all got great records. The ones that I know that teach surfing have good records, and they do a good job. The other thing I think is important to remember, this is only a pilot program. Our recommendation was for 1 year, let's try it. Let's see what it does. If it's not working for us, if we don't feel like it's successful, if we feel like we need to put more restrictions on it, then we'll need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a better plan. But I think because it is a pilot program, I feel comfortable with the way we're doing it. I think this is the best and puts the city in less liability than it would the other two ways that we had addressed it.
Okay. Well, and I think it's worth noting your past experience with directing. What was your position with North Myrtle Beach?
I'm the waterfront director. I supervise all the lifeguards and beach services and train the lifeguards.
Okay. So I appreciate that. One thing I wanted to ask Ron is, are we communicating with surfing or Norma Jean? Are we communicating with them to make sure that the surfing community is aware that this opportunity is now available for them, or do we have a sense that they know?
So we certainly will be doing that should this pass second reading at council this month. That it is not currently being communicated because it's not currently available as an option, right? I think that we need to make sure that people aren't jumping the gun and going out there and doing this while it is not currently legal. But yes, we definitely will.
Yeah, I should have said, just to make sure that once it does pass, if it does pass, that it's well communicated with the community so that everybody knows about it. And there was one thing with the wording, I don't have it in front of me, but where we talked about the numbers allowed, I think it was, it specified the size of the group that could be involved. And I wanted to make sure the way it was worded, it almost restricted the number of instructors, I think. And I wanted to be careful, maybe look back at that. Right. I think we want to definitely restrict the number of students, but if they want to have maybe 2 instructors, in that group with the same number of students, I don't want to prohibit that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And I'll go back and take a look at it to
Okay.
see what we can do with that language.
I
Okay.
think it's 3 per instructor. I don't think it I'll have to go back and look as well. I
Mhm.
don't think it limits the number of instructors that individual has under his business license. But
Uh-huh.
it was either 3 or 4, and I know we talked about 3, but it's
Right,
no
I think-
more than 4 per instructor.
Right. I think that was our intent, was to limit the number of students, not instructors. But I think in the language that I would remember looking at it, at the last full council meeting and thinking, oh, wait, that doesn't, that could be limiting for the number of instructors, which is not what we intended. So let's just
Okay.
make sure that that's not the case.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments on surfing instruction from the rest of the committee?
Nope, good.
Okay.
Good.
And we don't have any new business listed. Our under miscellaneous business, our next meeting date is set for 8 a.m. Monday, February 1st, 2020. I will say that I may down the line have a conflict with this meeting time due to work, but as long as we're Zooming, I think this can work. As long as we're Zooming and we get done in an hour and a half every time, I'll be good with it. But if we start meeting in person again, we may need to rethink this meeting time because I have a standing meeting at 9:30 for work. So on Mondays. If there's no other business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.